everybody, and welcome to the Bolsa Chica Conservancy's weekly animal feeding. My name is Whitney, and I'll be leading you through our public animal feeding today. So we're going to start with Igneous. She is our California Sculpin, and we're going to be feeding her a couple pieces of fish. Now, I'm sure you've noticed she looks a bit like a rock, and that's how she camouflages herself. These guys are ambush hunters. Hi. So she will hide in the rocks in order to hide herself from both potential predators as well as food. And I forgot the big stick. Oh well, my arm's gonna get wet.
Are you gonna go grab it?
It's fine. My arm's gonna get wet. I'm not gonna die.
Yep.
So we are going to be feeding her some silverside fish. Maybe.
Hi guys.
Yeah, we need the big stick.
Need a big stick? Okay.
So I'll be right back with the big stick. We'll try this again with a little more arm length. Maybe. There you are, girl. There you go.
There we go.
So we're going to give her a second fish, see if she's interested, with our long stick. And we'll see if she's interested in the second fish.
I don't think she is.
I don't think she is. Well, that just means more fish for another one of our members. I'll take those. So next we're going to head to our sharks. We have 5 or 6. Got a handful of young Swell Sharks. Now, Swell Sharks are nocturnal, so they're not going to be too active at this time of the day. And don't worry if you see them in a pile. These guys are not active swimmers like you would see with like the bigger great white sharks. You smell the fish? Now, all of our Swell Sharks were hatched here at the Bolsa Chica Conservancy, thanks to our partners from the Cabrillo Aquarium. Now we feed our Swell Sharks a mix of fish and squid. Squid are kind of like vegetables for sharks.
You're good. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Feel free to let us know if you have any questions.
Oh, okay. Have any questions, Alana?
Okay. Why do I give them the food with my orange utensil? This is so that they don't think my fingers are food. I like my fingers attached to my hand. Do you like your fingers attached to your hand? It's helpful.
So there you see it.
delicious. How about a squid tentacle? Good job.
Do you have the baby sharks in the little sacks today? Like,
All of them have hatched.
oh,
So these are the ones that survived.
those were dying the last time, the little sacks that we did. Those are the little baby sharks that were inside of them.
Are you hungry? Where's everybody going?
But with the mommy.
The mommies leave out at the aquarium over in San Pedro,
Why?
because that's where she lives.
Did she make the eagle ones? So it's done to get them healed?
No, we just got the babies. We adopted them. We don't have enough space for all the big mommy sharks.
Why so much baby then is a day cap?
I'm sorry?
Why day cap? I don't even know which one you're inside.
I'm keeping track of them. Everybody's got their own individual spot markings.
Oh.
So after a while, you start being able to tell them apart.
Kind of like living in a party and friends with friends or friends. You look very similar. Very unique. I know what the film color is. One of the favorite colors. Maybe from a sweat and color this.
Excuse me. Come out and say hi.
Hmm? Hi, hi.
You can't always hide behind a rock.
Hmm?
Have some squid.
It's like you guys, sometimes you guys don't want to eat, huh?
Well, once they get full, they'll stop eating.
Yeah.
So they know when they've had enough.
Like you. Yeah.
When you got that full feeling in your tummy?
I smelled it the last one.
So I'm on my last couple pieces, and then we'll move on to the big tank behind you folks.
The big tank? Whale.
With the big fish behind you.
Remember these guys, somebody?
Those ones are pieces of squid.
I see girl. They're feeding the sharks, the baby sharks. What's that? You want to have a napkin? Yeah, you have to wear a napkin. I don't like it. But I
All right, this is our last piece.
I don't like it.
You have to feed it by hand like that? Why?
Alrighty. So we're gonna move on to our next tank, and if anyone's got any questions, feel free to ask and let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. So everyone, if you want to stand on this side of the tank, I'm gonna go to the other side so you guys can see all the fun stuff.
This is the big one.
I'm gonna grab that leftover fish and we're gonna Here. All right. So the first critter that we're gonna feed is gonna be our lobster friend right over here on this side of the tank. Now this is a California spiny lobster. I'm sure you guys noticed he doesn't have those big pinchers that you typically see on your dinner plate. And this is perfectly normal for this species of lobster. They actually don't have those really big pinchers. Instead, they have spines on their outside carapace, which is where they get the name spiny lobster. And these are native off our California shores. Did you get it? All right. I can't see through the bubbles. So he's going to take his time and eat that up, kind of like a very big granola bar. And then I'm going to head over here and we're going to feed the fish.
Over here. Look.
I think she's just checking them out.
Oh, let me see.
All right. So we feed our fish here a combination of silverside, squid, and krill. And we kind of just let them have at it. So this big gray one, this one's name is Spot. And it's a half moon fish. They're native off our coast. They usually live more in, good job, Base. They usually live more in kelp forests. Now the orange looking fish, we've got two of them. These are kelp bass, and they live in the kelp. Now this yellow one with the white spot, there was nothing in there, is an opali. Yeah, Spot's kind of hungry. It's almost like we never feed you, buddy.
See, the little one's hard to feed because Spot is taking everything.
Now, where's Babe? There's trouble. Are you hungry, buddy? That wasn't for you.
Oh, we got it.
Yeah, good job, Luke. Ready?
You might take that too.
Is that a little too big for you?
Not for him.
Did our lobster already finish eating? Or did you drop your fish?
Look at that.
What is that? He's coming out, huh?
Is that one of our sea stars coming out?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's our resident cave dweller.
Our hermit.
Oh, he got it. See it?
Who?
The little yellow one.
Now, all of the fish we have inside this tank are native,
Ooh.
and you will find them off our California coast.
Oh, still, you see, turn around, he still gets food. See that? You see that?
Squid. You do, Spot. Does anyone have any questions about these guys? Excuse me.
How many times do you eat them?
We feed them 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
But how about the starfish? How about the starfish?
We give the starfish mussels. Let's see, do we have any empty shells? Now mussels are these guys right up here. They're these black bivalves that we see growing all over the place. You can find them at the beach, you can find them by the docks, on boats. They'll stick onto rocks or anything they can really stick onto. Now inside this mussel is an animal. The shell, it helps protect him from predators, but not the sea stars.
Oh, not the sea stars.
So sea stars are actually super cool creatures. These guys are predators, which means they eat other animals. They don't eat vegetables. They're on the same idea as like sharks and lions. So what they're gonna do is I'm gonna give this to our friend right here. This is an ochre star, one of our common native sea star species. And he'll grab onto it using his suction cup tube feet on each of his arms. And slowly, ooh, can we see it?
Can you see it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
And slowly he'll bring this all the way into the middle of the star where his mouth is. And then they'll do one of the coolest things ever. These guys eat in the exact opposite order that we do. Now, normally people put food in their mouth, chew and swallow, and it goes into our tummy, right? Now, sea stars do the exact opposite. They bring their tummy to the food. So they actually puke up their stomach. So it's on the outside, so your tummy's on the outside. They digest their food, turning it into soup, and then they'll slurp everything back in. It's because they don't have any teeth. So we're just gonna hold this up here and wait for him to figure it out. Now, sea stars have one eye at the end of each arm, but it's not the same kind of eye as what you and I have.
Hi.
You do have eyes. How many do you have? 2? Okay. Well, this guy's got 5 arms, so that means he has 5 eyes. Now, these are very primitive eyes. They can only see light and dark. So all of us probably look like big, dark, blurry blobs of potential concern.
You got it. So that's on the
So we'll see if he's hungry enough to eat it. Now, if you guys want to come over to this side, you can see. Now, he'll try to bring that mussel all the way over into the middle, using all those tube feet you can see on each arm. He's got hundreds of them. Hopefully he doesn't decide he doesn't want it and drop it. If that's the case, then we'll move on. Looks like he's slowly bringing it into the center because that's where his mouth is. Now, sea stars are really cool. They have the ability to regrow limbs. So long as they've got the central disc still there, they can grow it back.
How long does it take?
I have a
Months.
question.
Okay.
What is this?
Huh?
Yes.
A disc? It's a circle. Do you guys have CDs and DVDs at home? Those are discs. Pulling it into the middle. And we'll have to keep an eye on him because once he's got the muscle, he's going to bring his stomach out of his body, which is stored in all 5 limbs.
And then he might fall off.
Nah, these guys are super strong. He's hanging on to the pipe, to the acrylic, the glass, as well as that little air tube. So I'm not worried he's going to fall, but if he does, he's not letting go of that muscle. So he'll use his 2 feet to slowly pry it open, and then he'll puke up his tummy inside the shell. Throw up. Like when you feel really sick and all the food and stuff from your tummy goes outside.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm surprised in that muscle.
Mm-hmm.
What? The interesting part, how does he know to do that?
I would assume it's an instinctual kind of thing because sea stars broadcast spawn and they start out their lives as plankton, which are teeny tiny animals you can't even see without a microscope to help you out. And as they grow and mature into adult sea stars, they start getting bigger and bigger and looking more like the sea stars we've got in our tanks right now.
My favorite.
He won't crack the whole thing open. It's going to be just a little bit, just enough to get his tummy in, and then he'll shove his stomach in there.
Push up.
Push. Really hard.
How long does this feeding last? How long will it take from start to finish?
I'm not entirely sure for this particular guy, but we should be done by around 1.
Oh.
When are we gonna
Snakes are going to be last. The reason we wait so long to do the snakes is because it does involve live mice feeding. And we are currently live streaming. So just in case anyone doesn't want to see that part, they'll get to see all this. And then if they don't want to see the live mouse getting eaten by the snake, then they can just click out or exit the building, wherever they are.
Do you live stream every video?
Oh, we started doing it during the lockdown. So this I think is like our 5th or 6th.
That's our business
Are these real?
Yeah, all of these animals are real. Yeah. So we're going to move on to this tank next.
I can't see now.
So now we've got these special stairs for you guys.
Did you?
Now, first things first. All right. So the animal I have in my hand is a California bat star. Now, bat stars, masks up. Now, bat stars get their name because they have, do you see how it's rounded instead of like each individual arm like that guy? How it's rounded like a bat wing, as opposed to the sharp edges on that guy? That's how they get the name bat star, but they're very similar. You can see the disc in the middle where the mouth comes out. 1 second, sweetie. So you can see the disc in the middle, and that's where the stomach is going to come out of. But they also have hundreds of tiny tube feet in each arm, as well as 1 eye at the end of each arm. So did we want to give them a pet? Now when we touch these, you need to remember to do the 2-finger touch. 1 finger is poking, and that's not nice. So remember your 2-finger touch and gently. How does it feel? Tummy's not out yet.
How does it feel? Bumpy.
Bumpy and rough. He feels like sand, right? This is part of his exoskeleton and helps protect him from predators. Animals like seagulls would want to eat this guy. So, let go of my fingers, buddy. So I'm gonna stick him onto the acrylic and give him a minute to hang on to it. Welcome. Yep. So just as a heads up, this is being live streamed, so you might get caught in the background a little bit.
Who's caught?
You good?
Look,
Good,
he's eating
sister.
it.
All right. So now I'm gonna feed our friends. Got it. So I'm gonna start with our sea star friend, and I'm gonna give our bat star just a fish head. And I'm gonna do very similar to what I did. Excuse me. That wasn't for you. I was going to give the sea star a fish head, but the fish took it.
It's too big for him, huh?
Okay, I guess you guys are gonna get fed first. Aren't you guys needy?
What about these little guys?
This is our Blenny, who was hiding in the shell and is only coming out for food. They hide in the shells in order. Are you gonna take that? Gonna be nice to your Blenny neighbor? So if you look carefully, we have a fish inside this shell.
I can't see it.
You can come over here.
On your side?
He's in the shell right there. There's nothing in there. So you can see him right there, right?
Yes, I see
He's
it.
kind of hiding inside the shell.
Now I need it for my mother.
You guys are hungry, aren't you? Well, it is lunchtime.
Okay, just feeding them little fish.
Yeah, we're just feeding them pieces of krill, silver sides, and squid. This gives them a varied diet, a little bit more closely to what they would get in the wild,
You in the wild?
instead of inside a tank, where they live out in the big nature.
If they live out in the big, see where the sharks live?
Mm-hmm, where the sharks live. So we're gonna try this again with a slightly, excuse me.
Excuse me? Where is not for you?
So I gotta wait until the sea star has it before I can let it go.
Did he get it?
There we go. Now excuse me, you. Go over there. That is not for you. Now we have 3 bat stars in this tank. Can you find them all?
I can't see it with my
There's 3. So we got 1, 2. Where's the 3rd one? Got 2. No? Be careful, the water's cold.
It's right there.
Yeah, he's over here. Back.
Oh, I think I don't want
The purple one?
Yep, this little purple one. This one's violet. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get you a piece.
I wish I can touch the water.
Come here, Mr. Crab.
Look how beautiful.
Now we also have some lined shore crabs. Does he have a piece, or is he just being shy? You've got a piece. You don't need to. Now let's see here. Let's see if I can encourage our friend to come out. Come on. It's fish. Here you go, buddy. Now we have 2 lined shore crabs in here. These are our most commonly seen crabs here in the Bolsa Chica Wetlands.
How about that little starfish?
Let's give some food to that little starfish in the corner. Let's rotate him a little bit so we can see him on the camera. My attempts have been thwarted, and that's way too big. Let's try that again. No, no, no. No! That's too big for you. Fish are very mean creatures. Stealing food from their roommates. Got it? Go away. Go away. Shoo shoo. Even fish. So I'm gonna wait a second and let Violet try to get that a little closer to her before her roommate tries to steal her food. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Go over here. So Violet, like all of our other sea stars, is gonna bring that piece of krill closer to the middle where her mouth is, and that way she can externally digest her food using her stomach before slurping everything into her body. Oh, we might have to witness a sea star fight. They're over there.
Are there two?
There's two of them. One has the muscle. The other one I haven't given a muscle yet because he was way in the bottom other side corner and decided, I'm hungry. I'm going to take your food.
Oh my gosh, that was super fast.
So sea stars can actually move a lot faster than most people give them credit for.
Yeah.
And it's because they have all of those tube feet moving together in order to move the sea star.
Why is he confused with food?
Because he's hungry too.
'Cause he's hungry too. Let's try and give him one. So we're going to try to give this guy, and maybe we'll leave him alone. It's always rude to steal food from other people. Here you go, buddy. It's not for you, babes. Got it? I'm going to let it go. Good, sea star.
Cool.
So hopefully that will keep the peace for a minute. Then I can give the rest of them muscles in a little bit. All right. So I believe that's everyone in this room. So we're going to head over into the next room where we're going to feed our amphibians and reptiles. And that includes our snakes. But we'll do the snakes last, just because that does involve the live mouse feeding, and we want to make sure that people can avoid that if they're not comfortable with that kind of thing. So follow me into the next room. And we... There we go. All right. So the first ones we are going to feed are our southern alligator lizards.
Wow, cool.
Now, southern alligator lizards are a native lizard species we have here in Bolsa Chica. These are also our largest native lizards that we have. We've got one hiding in here.
Mommy, may I have
So make sure you look carefully.
Did
Now-
you know? Did you know, Mom, someone when I saw a rainbow one?
You saw a rainbow lizard out on the trail?
Yeah.
That was probably a side blotched lizard. They come in all different colors.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
We've got one right in here. We'll feed him next. He's right there.
Yeah, I see.
Now we're going to be feeding our lizards some crickets. Now these crickets have been coated in calcium powder. This helps make up for the lack of variation in their diet, since they'll eat a bunch of different things while they're out in the wild. So this calcium powder helps keep them healthy, kind of like taking your vitamin in the morning with your breakfast. So we're going to sprinkle some of our crickets into the tank. Come on, guys. That was more than intended. So look carefully. Hopefully we'll get our lizard friend who's hiding in that log.
I'm just gonna go in there.
We got one. Now there's two lizards in here. One's probably hiding in the wood chips. They're not the most social of lizards.
What's your one?
They like to hang out with friends and go out and meet people.
Where is it?
So unfortunately, this doesn't look like it's going to be nearly as exciting as last week.
That's not. I don't like to watch. Remember when I went here? I took a short walk.
You took a short walk last time?
Mm-hmm.
Did you have fun?
Yes, but now it's gonna this one.
It wasn't like this one?
Yeah, I didn't even know how to look.
Well,
Why is he not eating?
maybe he's shy. Oh.
Should I go out?
So we're going to move on since these guys aren't going to give us much of an exciting feeding. Oh, I lied.
What you're not?
He came out.
See, I think he would come out.
So this one is Snicket. This lizard's name is Snicket.
Do the other one and this king like to go out?
Yeah, that one's probably hungry. So let's move on.
Is this a snake feeding time?
It's not snake feeding time yet.
Soon.
Soon, sweetie. All right. So next we're going to be feeding our side blotched lizard. His name is Stan.
Stanley?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this name Stanley?
Yeah, it is. How did you know?
Hawaii?
All right.
She's feeding.
I'm going to put too many of you in here.
Is this snake feeding yet?
Not yet.
It's like 15 more minutes. Can you wait 15 more minutes?
Where's Stan?
What else do they eat besides crickets?
They'll eat a wide variety of insects and bugs while they're out in the wild.
I can't wait for that.
Sorry.
Mommy, can you lift me up so I can
See those?
Now, if anyone has any questions, always remember you're free to ask them.
Where's that place?
I'm gonna give that back to you. You've got a better control over the camera than I do. We'll just close up the tank again just so we don't have to worry about crickets escaping.
Look at it.
Now next we're going to be feeding our leopard frog. Her name is Pebbles. Now, Pebbles is also going to have crickets, but in the wild, she once again can eat just about anything.
Mommy, I can't.
Let's move this out.
What is her name?
Pebbles. Pebbles! Like the little rocks.
Pebbles?
So this is Pebbles. Can you see her? She is our northern leopard frog.
I'll try to sit down. But
Now, she's also going to get the crickets.
why is she because she loves bugs.
She does love bugs. Bugs are cool.
What is snake feeding?
Snake feeding is next.
What is this?
That is a tiger salamander. His name is Tigger.
People?
Yeah.
Like, and every wet don't come out. Is he wet?
Yeah. Okay.
Stand up a lot. Right next to Mama.
What is this?
Go front row to this.
Where'd you go, buddy?
No,
What's up? That's my finger. Hopefully Pebbles feels like eating. Oh, there she is. Look up. Now frogs are really cool. They don't eat like you would expect, especially with all those cartoons going around. They do not use their tongue to strike and catch their food. They'll actually jump and bite it. And then what's really nifty is they'll use their eyes to help push their food down their throat. So she'll close her eyes and her eyes will actually go into her head and help push the crickets into her tummy.
that's cool.
Mm-hmm. She's hunting. Ready to jump. Maybe. Mm-hmm. Jump like a froggy. You can do it, Pebbles.
Oh.
See it a lot?
I think I'm supposed to like.
Yep, she closes her eyes when she swallows. Excuse you. Go.
Just let her jump on you.
Oh, nope, there you are.
Just leave you and
It's my new assistant. Get down.
I jump in next to you.
There we go.
There you go.
Is this snake feeding time?
Almost. Let's see if Pebbles will eat one more and then we'll have snake feeding time.
Pebbles.
This is Pebbles. She's our frog.
Who's he?
That's Johnny. Where is Johnny today?
I can see him now.
Let's see. Where's our little salamander friend? Oh, here he is. You can see him right over here. He looks kind of like a worm.
Oh, I think I
But
see.
Johnny
Like a
is,
worm with legs.
yeah, he's like a little earthworm with legs. Now he's a garden slender salamander. These are one of our few local amphibians.
Look at their snake. Like a wolf.
Yeah, kind of like a snake. All right, guys, so next we're going to be doing our snake feeding. This does involve a snake eating a live mouse. If this is something you guys are not comfortable with, now is the time to either enjoy the other room or log off of our live stream. I'm going to run into the back room to get the key because I forgot to grab it. And then I'm going to teach you guys about some snakes. So I'll be right back. Alrighty. I've got the key. So we will be feeding our friend Dan, who is a San Diego gopher snake. He lives over here.
She's gonna pick them out.
They're right here.
So she's gonna put it on the ground.
In the
Oh, I'm not
in the
gonna put him on the ground, sweetie.
The tank, honey.
If he goes on the ground, he's gonna end up hiding under the cabinets, and then I'm never gonna see him again. Hey, buddy.
Why?
Wake up. Wake up.
He's
Please do not kick bedding into your water bowl. Good boy. Alrighty.
Wait.
I'm gonna stand back here.
So this is Dan. He's a San Diego gopher snake. This is one of our most common snake species found here in the Bolsa Chica Wetlands. I'll be super careful, okay?
Why? He's poisonous?
Nope, we actually don't have any poisonous snakes here in the Bolsa Chica Wetlands.
Oh, good.
However, we do have venomous snakes, like the rattlesnake.
Does he rattle?
No, he doesn't rattle. He's got a naked tail. No rattle on his tail. However, he will pretend to be a rattlesnake because out in the wild, in order to protect himself, he doesn't have those really big fangs with poison inside. So he has to pretend. So he'll actually flatten out his head to look like a rattlesnake, give it that triangular shaped head. He'll thrash his tail around in the bushes to pretend he's got a rattle, but it's really just him hitting the leaves and the sticks. And then he'll hiss at people. Now, for most animals, including people, that's enough to be like, I don't want to deal with you. You're too much trouble. So people and potential predators will run away. However,
Can he come in the ground?
No,
he's not going on the ground, sweetie. If he goes on the ground, he's going to find a hiding place, and then I'll never find him again.
Yeah.
He's the perfect hide-and-seek master because he's so small. Now, because he doesn't have any venom, he doesn't have those two really big fangs you typically associate with snakes, but he is a constrictor. He does have teeth. They're super tiny. He can make you bleed if he tries, but that takes effort. His teeth are more to kind of act like fingers to hang on to his food that he catches. So because he's not venomous, he is a constrictor. He'll bite onto his prey because he doesn't have any hands. Look at that. No hands to grab onto his food. So he'll bite onto it, wrap his body around it a couple of times, and slowly squeeze it until it dies. Now, it's a combination of lack of blood flow and suffocation that ultimately ends up killing the mouse. So who's interested in petting Dan?
Me.
Okay. Now, if we are to pet Dan, I've got a couple of rules. Don't touch his head, okay? Because if you touch some... How would you feel if one of these guys went and touched your head? Bad? That's the same idea with him. He doesn't know who you are, so we're not going to touch his head, okay?
Okay.
Because that's just...
Okay, you're gonna have to go over there. Let me take a picture of you.
Let's untangle him so you can
Wait,
give him a
Alana,
good pet.
just give him a second, okay?
Alrighty. Are we ready? Alright, so be gentle. 2-finger touch. Good job. Does it feel the way you thought it would?
No.
Is it slimy and wet or smooth? A little slimy and wet? Maybe he got a little wet in his water bowl. Snakes are not normally slimy and wet. They're reptiles, not amphibians like frogs. Did anyone else want to give him a pet?
No? Shamari?
All right.
No?
So I'm going to come up close to the camera so our viewers at home can see a better look at Dan. And then I'm going to put him in the cafeteria. Whoops. Where are you going, buddy? So this is our cafeteria.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
Oh.
Do we have a door?
Yes, I can get you a stool. I've got 2.
Thank
So
you.
here's a stool, and I'll set up the other one, and we'll have to share because it looks like there's more than 2 short people.
Benji, do you want to stand with Alana?
Yeah.
Yeah? Alana, can you
All right, now.
Okay.
Oh, now Bubbles.
Yeah, it's scary. Took a long enough.
Excuse me. I have to go over there. have choices today. I hear you. No.
Are you excited? Wait,
We'll just stay on the stool so you can watch.
All right.
here it goes.
So I would like you all to meet Brunch.
Lunch.
This is Brunch, one of our feeder mice. Now, these are mice that have been bred strictly for the intent of being fed to a snake or another animal that eats mice. So they've never had any experience with a potential predator before. So this is going to be Brunch's first time seeing a snake
And being eaten.
and being eaten. Hopefully that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience for this little guy. Lego,
Let's go.
Lego.
Let's
The
go.
ground is right there. Now this might take a couple of minutes. It depends if Dan's able to notice that the mouse is there or not.
So he doesn't even know like what a really snake is.
Nope, this is the mouse's first experience with a predator of any kind.
Mommy.
Now, he's going to use mainly his sense of smell in order to find the mouse. He's got eyes, but they're not that good. So he's going to be using his tongue, which is able to pull in smells, because they have special glands at the roof of their mouth, and that helps them smell.
So you can be eaten now?
Well, Dan's going to eat when Dan wants to eat. Now, snakes in the wild can go months without being fed. One of our snakes actually went almost 5 months without eating one time. And this is usually typical for snakes. They've got a very slow but very effective metabolism. So if it gets too cold, parts of their body that are like non-essential will start to go into hibernation. And they'll just use what they need, because these are...
Is this the first time getting eaten?
Yep, it's the mouse's first time getting eaten.
Why?
Well, doing it twice is kind of difficult.
You do it twice.
It's very hard to get eaten twice. It's not pleasant. I imagine for anybody involved.
How much of that was you?
Oh, we don't want to imagine that.
I think we would need a bigger snake if this were going to be me in the tank. We might need a bigger tank too. I'm a little tall.
What do you think he's finding? He knows?
So he definitely knows the mouse is there. However, he might not be hungry, and if that's the case, we'll swap out our snakes.
Oh, really?
You swap.
Switch. I'll take him out, put him back in his house, and we'll get a new snake.
Would you be feeding all the snakes today?
We won't be feeding all the snakes today. We don't have enough food to properly sustain them. A couple of our snakes are big enough that they need rats instead of mice.
Like that.
There's... Alright. So he has bitten onto the mouse and is wrapping his body around it to give it basically a hug of death.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it looks like the mouse is biting him.
Oh.
So this is not always
That scared me.
the
Yeah.
easiest and
Yeah,
best
scary.
method of hunting.
The snack.
So he's going to have to hang on to that mouse really good and squeeze.
He's constricting him.
Yeah.
So this is constricting, kind of like a big death hug.
Yeah, he's constricting. That's how he hugs.
Now this is going to take a minute to 2 minutes, depending. And then, once the mouse is dead, Dan is going to start with the head of the mouse. This is because of the direction the fur grows and how your skeleton naturally pulls back from your head, so it makes it easier to go down.
Mama, why
Mouse
can you not
died.
move it?
Now snakes are going to swallow their food whole.
The tail is slow.
They're not going to tear it into bits and pieces like we do. So he'll slowly, once he successfully kills the mouse, he's going to slowly kind of just slide his way across the
So
mouse.
are you gonna switch him?
Oh no, I don't have to switch him. He's eating right now.
Yeah, he's not moving.
So we're going to leave him in the tank for a while, even after he finishes eating. because you don't want to pick up a snake as soon as they've eaten, otherwise they might get scared and throw it all up. And that's just not pleasant for anybody.
What's pleasant?
Fun, nice, enjoyable.
But where did he do that?
If he's scared and we pick him up too early, he might just throw it all up because he's
Why?
nervous. It takes a lot of energy to digest that food. So if he wanted to survive in the wild, it would be easier for him to throw up the mouse and run away than to run away with the mouse in his tummy. It's like if you're running away with someone hanging onto your back like a piggyback ride.
Mm-hmm. I saw a man.
Hmm?
I saw a man collect children.
What do you think, Alana? The snake is moving.
And
Oh, I think he's starting to work his mouth around. Too bad it's not on this side. That's hard. You can't really see it on this side. Oh, there he is. Like,
Down here.
You can also take your step stool with you. It's not bolted to the ground.
Look, it's swallowing. The snake is swallowing the mouse. Look right here.
It's
easier if you look down.
maybe you want to pick him up.
That?
Can you see better up
I
here?
can see that.
You want me to pick you up, Benji?
I can hold it for you.
Oh, thanks. Oh, there he is. Oh, don't step on the table. Look, you see?
I see it.
Look.
I see
Look at
it.
it.
Oh, you do?
Here, Benjamin, come on this side.
I can't. Why is the mouse moving it for?
Oh, that's the reason the mouse is still moving is largely because Dan is the one moving him. So he's going to use his body, kind of like a big hand, to help him shift the mouse so it's easier to get into his mouth. And then he's slowly going to work his way from the head all the way to the tail tip.
Benjamin, come over here.
So you can see he's swallowing this mouse whole. He's not tearing it into little bits. And that's because snakes do not have the same skeletal structure as we do in their head. So their skull is not as fully fused as ours. So if you touch your chin, you know how you feel that bone right there? The lower jaw of the snake is in two parts. So, and a few other parts of the upper part of their skull are in different pieces. So they're able to swallow stuff that's 3 to 4 times the size of their head,
Wow, that one's done.
which is something that I cannot do.
Look, look. Do you want to give our friends a chance to go up and see? Let's look outside.
This makes sense.
They do have teeth. They have teeny tiny little teeth. And they use those teeth to make sure that they can hang on to the mouse while they're eating. Otherwise it would just slide out. And that's not helpful.
Oh, he's fast.
Yep. He hasn't eaten since late May, so it's been almost a month. He's turned his nose up at food a couple of times.
Interesting.
So they just won't eat if they're not hungry.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is this the first time getting eaten?
This is his first time eating in June.
So it's been like a month, like 30 days
Mhm.
since he's eaten.
Because he wasn't hungry. You know how you don't eat when you're not hungry?
Look, Benji.
Snakes do that too. Oh,
He's
we're down to the back legs and the tail.
I can see it. I think I'm going up on
How
here.
does he digest like all the bones?
He's got a very powerful stomach acid that can break it all down.
Wow.
So he'll digest the bones, the fur, all of it.
Now it's getting the
And in about a week or so, he'll poop it out.
I saw the leg.
Mm-hmm.
Mommy, look at it.
Yeah.
So you can see the food bulge, which is what we refer to as that little rounded part of his body where you can still see where the mouse's body is. Now, the snake's body is very elongated. They only have one functioning lung and a very long throat. So that mouse is going to be compressed as it goes down the long throat until reaching the tummy where where the mouse will be
Look at him.
digested. So he's all done,
He looks happy.
and he'll be happy for another week or two, but we try to offer our snakes food once a week. And if they don't take it, they don't take it. That means we'll just give the mouse to somebody else since we have 8 snakes. But does anyone have any questions? Because we're about to wrap up our animal feeding.
Excuse me, are we going to do a big one?
Nope, just this one. This means you'll have to come back next week.
Hey.
Why?
Want to come back next week, Benji?
Why are we doing this one?
Huh?
We need to be fed. We're hungry. Let's go.
All right,
Okay,
so
thank
now
you
I think
so
it's time
much.
for everyone else's lunch.
Yes.
Thank you for coming, everybody.
That was such a neat
Now, if
dream.
you guys are interested and want to help us out, we do have a donation box at the front desk that helps us feed our animals. And for those of you who are still with us on the live stream, we do have a donation link on the screen. Somewhere.
Almost.
That you can click on to help the Bolsa Chica Conservancy feed our animals, keep our lights on, keep the cameras running, and just continue to be an educational tool for the public. So thank you all for coming. I hope this didn't gross you out too much, and hopefully we'll see you next week.